Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2023, and today I want to talk to you all about the importance of establishing healthy boundaries and setting limits with people. Right now, I want to ask you all some questions, and only you can answer these questions truthfully, but I encourage you to answer these questions with radical honesty. The first question: do you always find that you are all too willing to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm? Do you set yourself on fire to keep other people warm? That's the first question. The second question: do you tend to swim oceans for people who would not even cross puddles for you? Do you tend to swim oceans for people who would not even cross puddles for you? Last question, third question: do you have difficulties differentiating between where you begin and someone else ends? If you answer yes to these questions, you struggle with boundaries. If you always find that you're always pouring into so many people and yet and still your cup is always empty, you struggle with boundary issues. And the thing about it is this: there are many people that when you erect firm boundaries and you set limits with them, the first thing that will happen, you'll notice, is that they will get angry with you. They will accuse you of being selfish. They will accuse you of changing. They will say that they do not like this new person that you're becoming because they've benefited from your brokenness. That's why. They've benefited from the part of you that just kept on bleeding out for them. Bleeding profusely, always available, always listening to their gripes and concerns and complaints. They've gotten used to that, so they've typecast you in that role. And when you no longer are willing to play that position, when you no longer are willing to play that role, and you let them know, I cannot do that anymore, they get angry with you. Out come the accusations. They try and make you feel as though you're not enough. And if you struggle with the inadequacy wound and that feeling of not being enough, it's going to trigger a lot for you. It's going to bring up some stuff for you, some discomfort, And so initially what you'll do is in an effort to try to prove that you are enough, you'll go back to being that person for them. You'll always go back to that role because that role is familiar. You're comfortable. Yes, it caused great pain for you, but at the same time, it was getting your needs met. And what was the need? The need was to feel enough. And you relied on that external validation to make you feel like you're enough. That was the measuring tool that you used to determine whether or not you're enough. And here's the thing. When you use external validation to measure how well you're doing or how much you're worth, you will always come up short. I want to say that again. When you use external validation as a measuring stick, as a yardstick to determine whether or not you are worth something, whether or not you're enough, you will always come up short and you will always feel like you're not enough. You can never use what other people say or how they feel to determine your worth. But oftentimes, when you struggle with boundaries and when you struggle with setting limits, you oftentimes rely on the external validation of others to give you worth, But the thing about it, when you set that limit, expect pushback. Expect people to accuse you of being self-centered, of not being enough. They'll try to make you feel as though you're not present for them. They'll try to shame you and blame you. And my thing is this: you have to come to expect that when you change and transform and are on a new path, people are going to be uncomfortable with you. They're going to be uncomfortable with the new version of you. They're not going to like it when you set a limit and when you establish a boundary with them. Because as I mentioned before, they benefited from the part of you that kept on bleeding out. They had their cup up against your veins. And as long as you continue to bleed for them, they were fine with you. And what they would offer are cheap hits of validation, cheap hits of praise. Oh, you're such a good person. You're so nice. You're so kind. You're so giving. You're so thoughtful. All those compliments just to keep you bleeding. Come on, keep bleeding for me. Keep bleeding for me. They love it when you bleed for them. But the moment that you cut off the supply, you put your veins back in your arms and you suture yourself up, all of a sudden they have a problem with you. Because it was never about loving you for you. It was always about you being loved for the service that you performed for them. It was never about loving you because you had a good heart, a loving spirit, a warm, compassionate nature. No. How much can you bleed for me? That's the question that they want to ask you. And when you refuse to bleed for people, they're going to be angry. A lot of people won't even want to be your friend anymore. They'll cut you off. They'll say, oh, you can't provide me with what I need, and so I'm leaving. Thing is, with this generation, people need too much, more than any human can provide. But the thing is, they're not willing to help themselves. They're not willing to be what they need. They just expect you to do all the work. You to keep on providing and giving and pouring into them. My first question when dealing with people, what have you done to help yourself? What have you done to help yourself out of this particular crisis? If they haven't done anything, I would encourage them to start there. Because quite frankly, in this world that we live in, I'm a firm believer, and this is my belief, I'm not trying to impose it on anybody else. I'm a firm believer that only God can help us out at this point. Only He can help us out. Because we need too much. The way this world is going, it feels like human needs are becoming more and more and more by the day. And with every new, invention, or with every new attempt to try to correct this imbalance, there's another imbalance that's created. Every time a politician comes along trying to correct the budget, there's something else that suffers. And there's someone else that suffers. So there's never any real, genuine, across the board solutions. So I feel that at this point, only God can help us out. And truth be told, a lot of people are battling depression, anxiety, and a host of other mental health issues that are oftentimes undiagnosed. So it's hard to be present for someone else when you are struggling yourself to keep afloat. When you have issues and traumas and just pain that you feel nobody even understands, it's hard to be present for other people. And there are those of us, who are living with what I call disenfranchised grief. What is disenfranchised grief? It's grief that you can't really talk about with other people, because when you open up about that grief, you're oftentimes inviting judgment, criticism, and people are very, very critical in this day and age, and they try to shame you whenever you want to talk about your grief over certain matters. I know, and I'll be very transparent when I've shared my journey in terms of trying to move past this gay identity, trying to share that with other people in various spaces has led to a lot of criticism, judgment, blame, shame, scolding, condemnation. I've been rejected. And so, knowing that, I've kept those feelings to myself, and that's what makes it disenfranchised grief, because you cannot openly share certain things. So there's a lot of people battling that out there. And so it's hard to be present for other people, And so my thing is this. You have to encourage people to help themselves, and you also have to establish boundaries and set limits with people. And the thing is, they're going to test your limits to see the authenticity and the genuineness of your limits. They're going to test you. And so you have to pass the test every single time. You have to let no be your go-to. No, I can't do this. I'm busy right now. No, I can't do this. I'm in the middle of something. No, I can't tackle that right now. No, I can't listen to you right now. I am in the middle of something. Maybe we could set up a time where I have more space to listen, where I can hold your feelings in the way that you need me to. Because honestly, me personally, I am tapped. People are exhausting. And what makes them exhausting is not so much what they're saying, but what makes them exhausting also is that they're not listening. They're not listening. You provide sound suggestions, you provide guidance, and oftentimes they don't take the guidance. And for many people, I've learned that they just like to complain. A lot of people just need something to complain about. They just need something to gripe about. They really are not interested in any solutions. All they want is to continue to gripe about it. Whether they're looking to get sympathy, whether they're looking for attention, whether they're looking just to vent, it's like, my thing is this. I give you the space to vent for maybe like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And then there comes a point in the conversation where we have to talk about solutions. If you are unwilling to talk about solutions, then I cannot provide any assistance because I've reached my threshold. And I've told people that. You have 20 minutes to vent. And then that's my threshold. And that also is a boundary. Giving yourself 20 minutes to listen and then let them know, okay, I've listened to you for 20 minutes. Now we enter solution focus mode. Let's focus on a solution now. What do you want to do about this? Because you're going to keep on going around and around and around. And that's another thing, the repetitiveness. The repetitiveness, going around and around. You're saying the same thing over. It's a broken record. It's a broken record. Now we need to actually take the needle off the record, change that record, which is called solution. Let's take the needle off that broken record and let's put on a new record called solutions. If you are unwilling to hear that music, well then I can't continue to listen to the broken record. I can't. So that's the boundary that I set. I am also a work in progress. I am learning how to set limits with people, both family, friends, co-workers, because people will definitely try to take you for all that you got. They will try to take you for all you got. They know that you're a kind, compassionate person, and especially if you're an empath, you try to listen to others and be a support. But a lot of times people, they abuse that. So you have to take responsibility for that. You have to take responsibility in the sense of, wait a minute, what am I doing to enable this behavior to continue? That's also a feature of setting a limit, self-assessing what you do to maintain this behavior. Because it's something that you're doing that keeps these people coming back, right? And when you have healing energy, a lot of people will try to dip into that energy. They love it. But at the same time, it's your responsibility to protect, to put gates around, locks around that energy to keep it pure and keep it safe and keep it clean for other people who genuinely need that support. That's your responsibility. So yes, while other people may have difficulties with accepting your limits or respecting your boundaries, it's your responsibility to continue to protect those limits, protect those boundaries. And even if it means having to disengage from people, you have to be willing to disengage from other people. You have to be willing to disconnect from other people, to disassociate yourself from a lot of toxic, wounded individuals who have no interest in healing. You have to be willing to do that. That's important. Because if you are unwilling to do that and you want to hold on because of this toxic loyalty, this misguided sense of loyalty that many of us struggle with, what's going to end up happening is that you're going to find your energy being depleted and you won't have the energy necessary to help those who really need it. So please, please protect your energy. Please erect those firm boundaries. Set those limits with people. And yeah, they're going to push back. They're going to get angry. They're not going to want to deal with you anymore. And either way, that's to your benefit. You don't want to deal with me? Great. I don't have to listen to the nonsense anymore. Think about the gifts of them getting angry. The gifts are that you no longer have to hear what they have to say. You no longer have to be burdened with their negativity. You no longer have to be burdened with their compulsive negativity. That's beautiful. Thank you. Like I said, when people choose to get angry and remove themselves when you tell them the truth, they are doing you a big favor because you no longer have to invest. You no longer have to take from yourself to give to them. You don't have to do that. So when people want to walk out, I always say it's the trash taking itself out. Thank you. I feel that my life personally is a self-cleansing machine. It is a self-cleaning machine in the sense when people want to walk out, they take their junk with them. They take their toxicity with them. Take it out of here. Bye. You've just freed me. It's a blessing. It really is a blessing. It's a blessing of abundant proportions. And I tell you, being able to breathe and have that sigh of relief, because that's what ends up happening too. The moment that these people decide to get angry, the pushback, and then the threats, and then them walking away, you have this, this instant peace. And when that happens, you realize that these people were nothing more than just Klingons, toxic individuals that were just in your life to take, not to give, but to take. So it's a blessing when they go. No love loss. If anything, that was a gift. And so once again, begin to identify what areas of your life need boundary setting and need you to set that limit. Determine that. Once again, that's your homework. Please, just sit with yourself and ask yourself and think about all the people in your life that you have who you feel are energy drains. And then begin the work of setting that boundary. If it means sending that call to voicemail, if it means not answering that text. And yeah, some people are going to accuse you of acting funny, you've changed, you've this. No, I'm not acting funny. I'm just protecting my energy from the emotional vampires out there. Because the thing about it, as I mentioned earlier, many of us are struggling with personal demons. We don't have the emotional bandwidth to deal with nonsense, to deal with the inane complaints and constant needs of other people. We don't have that energy. And so my thing is this. People have got to help themselves, and if they're unwilling to help themselves, well, then you can't do anything for them. You set the boundary that you're going to encourage them to help themselves. And if they feel like your support is insufficient, if it's somehow not enough, that's okay. That's fine. That's their right. You encourage them to go out there and get the support that will address their needs. Because, like I said, you don't have time for the energy drains. You don't. You have to protect your energy for your family, for your friends, for the people that love you. That circle of support. You want to keep on feeding that circle of support and getting rid of those who are energy drains who take away from that circle. So I hope this video was helpful. Definitely let me know your journey in terms of how you're doing with establishing healthy boundaries and setting those limits. This is Lewis Speaks, wishing everybody a wonderful, wonderful day. Peace, y'all.